meeting is being recorded.
The only one we're missing is Ryan, right?
I
Ryan
think
just-
we got Ryan, yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's like you're-
I'm up. I'm on.
Okay. Then since it's 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. And first, I will tell you that this will be an electronic meeting without an anchor location pursuant to the determination letter, which is available to read on the website. Second thing is we will take attendance. Ryan? Glynis?
I'm here.
Donna? She's eating her dinner. Bruce?
Here.
Rachel?
Here.
And our newest member, Jonathan.
I'm here.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to be here.
welcome. Yeah, welcome. This is Ryan. I'm here also. I missed my name.
Okay. And now, Alicia, I believe you're going to swear then some members in.
I am. So it'll be Bruce, and then Rachel, and then Glynis. So Bruce, if you will, please, if you're ready.
Yeah. I'm ready.
All right. Go ahead and raise your right hand for me, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Bruce Wolfley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I will support, obey, and defend
support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
All right, congratulations. And
Thank you.
then Rachel, you want to raise your right hand? Thank you. I state your name.
I, Rachel Cooper,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right. And then Glynis,
Mhm.
raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Glynis Tahansky,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of this office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. You're in for another 4 years.
Excuse me, I just want to note, I got kicked out. It was very odd with the internet. It said internet unstable and I got kicked out. So I missed part of that, so I apologize. Then if anybody else had any trouble? No? Okay. All right.
Do we also have to swear Jonathan in?
We do have to swear Jonathan in. Thank you. All right, Jonathan, if you'll go ahead and turn your camera on and raise, oh, you are on. Okay, raise your right hand for me, please. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Gunn,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Great. Thank you very much. You're official.
Okay, well, we already did the roll call before, prior to that. Does anybody have any issues with the minutes of the prior month's meeting?
Nope.
Would anybody like to make a motion to accept those minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes from the December 16th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Would anyone like to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Ryan,
Yes, yes,
Glynis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Okay. On to the public hearing part. This continued review and possible recommendation to the town council regarding the final claim phase 3 subdivision. Thomas, do you want to take us through that?
Yes, I will. I will walk you all through this. And I believe that we have Chris Ensign from Solstice Development on the Zoom call. So if you have any specific questions as we walk through this, don't hesitate to either ask me or Chris. But for those of you that may not remember, the claim subdivision received its approval back in December 14th of 2017. And there were a number of issues with regard to working through UDOT connections, et cetera. And they had some delays, and they came back before the Planning Commission to request an extension in November of 20, and that extension was granted. And so this is a resubmittal for phase 3 to ensure final plat approval. It's a little bit confusing. There were some final plat, what were deemed final plat approvals, but based on what were really thorough site plans. And so this is for final plat approval. Again, this is phase 3. There will probably be, Chris can clarify this, 4 or 5 phases before the project is complete. And so for phase 3, it does have preliminary approval. What it does not have is final plat approval. And so we're going through that process today. This is for, as a reminder, it's 88 total units on this property, and it is an area of 58 acres, almost 60, or 59 acres, most of which 40 plus that are not going to be developed. They're open space, untouched land. If you go to the next page, Alicia, you'll see that this project is for phase 3, includes 14 lots that would essentially extend the development of phase 1, the development that you see completed on site. And then there's a second portion of this phase that includes 12 lots that are on the northern portion of this project. And I'll bring up a plat map shortly to show you if you need a sense of geography. There is an MDA for this particular project, and so there is some vesting, but there are also some changes to the zoning that you all implemented in November of 2020 with town council implementing via final approval. And so a few issues we wanted to make sure that we walked through so that Chris and his team have clarification, and you all as well. The new code includes includes some new standards with regard to design standards and road standards. This area is zoned mountain, but it has a plant performance development overlay over it, which gives it a little bit more density. That was the agreement with council back in 2017. Since the 2020 code was adopted, there is a section for a monotony clause in terms of architecture. The applicant has been working with us with a design review committee and will continue to work with us on a design review committee so that different phases will have different design characteristics. That was part of a new clause that was not in place in 2017. If you go to the next page, you can see the development that has basically been designed and complete to date. Much of phase three will extend what has been approved for phase one, just to keep that continuity in that area. But there will be some different design, maybe colors, materials, setbacks, et cetera, that will incorporate in subsequent design phases. The road requirements, the applicant has agreed to meet the new code, which is the 26 feet of pavement width. The applicant has also agreed to meet the new code with regard to drainage and stormwater facilities, and has been working with Ryan and myself regarding those features that are part of this site plan and subdivision proposal. The final portion on this particular page is the open space requirements. There's no issue with regard to open space or public space requirements, since the majority of the site, the 42 acres, are going to be preserved. I think maybe what we'll want to do is work with Chris to understand if there's a conservation easement that will be placed over that, or a note that that will be open space and protected on the plat. It's our understanding that the only development and or improvements that would be made on that open space would be for trail infrastructure. And we'll work with the post committee. And there's a recommendation that go before the post committee for final trails. In addition, we've worked closely with Chris on the landscape plan. He's been before you with regard to the retaining walls and some of the step back and the terracing that you all have recommended. That has been designed by Seth Buckle Design. I think Chris is still working with him, and we're recommending that landscape planning, that landscape design be carried into the subsequent phases to keep that continuity. I think the final section of this is 110214, the construction mitigation plan. Chris has agreed to follow the new code with regard to the construction mitigation, and so I won't walk through the details. There have been some questions with regard to the excess soil from this site, where it's being stored, which is just to the property on the north side of the site. That was an agreement that was put into place a couple of years ago. We just want to make sure that that you all have an understanding of that agreement, number one, but number two, to make sure that Chris and his team understand that there are some requirements for that stockpiling of soil up there. The one-to-one slopes, it'll ultimately have to be landscaped with some planting to prevent further erosion, and a SWIP plan should be submitted to the town engineer. And I think that was pretty close to being submitted, but that would be kind of to ensure the protection of the stream that lies to the north of there. Maybe it's some of those straw rolls, et cetera, that would protect that stream. And so we just want to make sure that we walk through that a little bit and have an understanding. There were some residents in the community that have submitted photos of that stockpiling, concerned about the size. We have some concerns as well. We just want to make sure that Chris walks us through that to ensure that that is being addressed. And then if you go to the next page, before I walk into the planning conditions, I think that we should allow you guys to ask questions again of me and or Chris. But our recommendation is that you would approve this with these planning conditions, and that forward a favorable recommendation to town council. But just quickly, the planning recommendations include CCNRs that must be recorded. There's a secondary access that's an emergency access that would be part of phase 3 that would connect phase 3 back out to SR 248. That would be a requirement as part of finalization of phase 3. Again, overall site plan so that we internally have an understanding of what the final layout will be, the final landscape plan, working with Seth Buckle Design, specifications in the construction plan set, notes with regard to retaining walls, trails, noting where the trails will be on the plan and that they will be open to the public, and then a request that for future phases, is there an opportunity to incorporate some visitor parking into the overall claim project? TO has outlined in a 2019 report most of their recommended conditions, and so those still stand. They were recommended conditions for the entire project, and so those are still in force. And if you go to the next slide, Alicia, you can see the actual plan. You may have to shrink it just to zoom out a little bit. Yep, you can see that this is the area of phase 3. And you can see SR 248 is kind of right there on the angle from bottom left to top right. So this is really a continuation. If you look at the very bottom left side of this, that's existing phase 1. This is moving along the, I hope I'm getting this right. Yeah, the south, kind of south, on the south side along 248. So this is the first portion of phase 3. And if you go to the next slide, the second portion is back further up the hillside a little bit, and it'd be those 12 lots up there. If you have any questions or you need me to kind of orient you a little bit better on the mapping or the plat, let me know. And again, Chris is here, so he can answer questions as well.
I have a question. How close is that first part that of phase 3 along 248? How close is that to 248? It looks go down, yeah, go up, I guess. What?
You're going the right way, Alicia. So these will basically be, Chris can clarify this, but these will basically be the same setback as what you see existing along Claim. So it looks pretty close to Claim, but UDOT has a quite wide right of way. Section along 248. So beyond the cartway, the actual pavement area, there's probably, Chris may know exactly, I know he worked a lot with UDOT, but there's a significant 50, 100 feet before you actually get to the property line where this development is proposed. Chris, can you hear us, or maybe you're muted, I'm not sure.
And I think I can answer that pretty well. So the UDOT swath is approximately 100 feet. So it may be more in some locations, but I don't think we had anything less than 100. And then I think you can, there's about another 20 feet from there. So we're about 120 feet from 248.
Okay, and will you have landscaping along there or a berm?
So we will not inside of UDOT's. That's their show, and they don't necessarily let us come in and do anything. Now we work with them to get access. We will have landscaping on our property as it relates to that boundary line. What we would like to do a berm and trees. So we have plans for that on our site.
Because it just didn't look like there was that much space between the building and that angled line. Again, I can't read the yardage or the how many feet it is, so that's all. It just looked like it wasn't much.
Yeah, I think we're about 20 feet from the property line up to the units.
That's not much.
No, it's not much.
You'll be able to put a berm in there and you know, because I'm sure people don't want trees blocking their view, but something aesthetically.
Correct. So we've worked on this with Seth a little bit, and there is a fence there, so it's a little bit of a challenge just to navigate that. Maybe UDOT doesn't mind if we do some more berm. Ultimately, there's a kind of a protection of views that people do want still, and then even the berm gets a little tricky because the homeowners don't necessarily want people kind of lifted looking into their homes either. So there's just a little bit of a balance and the right mixture of just trying to getting somewhat of a berm for privacy, but also the right tree mix. Our hope is that we can plant a little bit into UDOT's territory with trees, and maybe it kind of grows that direction. It's got to be a little bit natural. I guess I'm kind of getting into the fuzzy area of how much we can really say commit to on the UDOT side, but our plan is to landscape down there.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Donna, we've worked pretty closely, and Chris has been working very closely with us via his landscape architect, Seth, who's done a great job with the landscaping to date. And so we will continue to work with opportunities to screen there without blocking views. So it's kind of that delicate balance.
Chris, I've got a question.
You bet.
The driveways, I can't see the depth, but I think they're under 20 feet. Is that long enough to park a car facing in or not?
I don't think we can be less than 20 feet. I think that if that's what I recall. We had to, it got a little tight when we, and again, we were happy to update the roads widths further, but it did get a little tight, but I think they're 20 feet, all the driveways.
And
I think
is that
that's what
enough to
required.
park a car without it sticking into the road?
It is. So all parking stalls anywhere you go are typically 9 by 18. That's a standard stall, in any parking lot you would be in, and that includes the full of the car.
Okay. And do you have any plans or any space to put in some visitor parking in case, people have visitors and it's more than just the 1 or 2 cars that would go into their
You bet.
parking driveway?
So yes, on this particular site, if we were looking at the whole thing, we've designated visitor parking stalls throughout the project. I don't know who's driving right now. You can kind of see one set of bait. Yeah, if you'll go up and left just a little bit, there's a set of right there. That's a set of 3, I think, but these are throughout the project. So every time we have an opening, we would just plug in 2 or 3 stalls, just again, kind of peppered throughout the site so that there's availability to buildings throughout. And then at the beginning, we have a trailhead. So we have, I think it was 6 or 7 stalls, and then another set of 3 right at the base for trailhead parking and visitor parking. So we've tried to mix those in throughout.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You bet. I can give a little update on a little more on the landscape. So our sign has gone in, and our monument wall, the final branding will come in shortly. We've worked again with the city and everyone to make sure this is done right, and our Gabe-in basket approach. So we will still be sealing the rock, and we will still be, and then the rusting will be the kind of final component on that. I think once it's got a year to it, I think those are going to look really nice. On this monument sign, because it does not have an actual structural purpose to hold back or retain anything, we're going to accelerate the rusting, so you'll kind of get a look and feel of what that will look like throughout the project through our retention walls. But we'll have not stained, but clear coated the rock, so it looks like the same that is on our buildings, and then the rusted steel. So we're excited on that. And then there's more trees and plants to come. We got in a little phase. We kind of had a not to say a shortage, but we couldn't get the trees that we wanted. So we kind of missed some of our trees. There's more to come. So we have more trees still planning to come for the entrance. And again, that will kind of be a pattern carried out through the site. So I just didn't want everyone to think that the front is done. There's more trees and plants to come.
And Chris, if I can ask again, just something that popped up in my mind. We've gone through a kind of a dark sky ordinance. Are all your lighting for your signs, and I'm assuming there's no street lights, but house lights, are they dark sky?
Yes, they are. We always follow that same ordinance. We all are downlit, all try to keep that light pollution down. So yeah, I think it's going to be kept well and look nice up there. The guy we use always says, hey, this is the plan developed in Yosemite. This is the same one we use, and it should function well there.
Good, thanks.
You bet. There are 2 or 3 required light poles, and again, they're downlit, but that's the only 3 I think that we're really dealing with throughout the site. So I think generally it will be a nice hillside in the nighttime.
I had a question about or concern question about the soil mound. It's turning into a mountain, I guess. It is. I've noticed it recently. Couple questions. First of all, does anybody live up there? I see some buildings. Is there a private residence up there?
There is a private residence. We like to call him Bill the Legend Wolf lives up there. And he's a great guy and been there a long time, and he's fun to talk to and meet with. But he has, yeah, exactly. He wanted to expand his site. So a couple years ago, we worked with Ryan at TO and Thomas, I think maybe you too. Mostly it was an engineering thing, but we worked out how to best conduct that expansion, how that would work, and ultimately how it needs to be finished off. And I believe this seats warm season before fall, it needs to be seeded to beautify, and also from a standpoint of erosion to make sure that's done properly. But they put in place a plan to address that.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know if we can, if there's a possibility, we can make that clarify that in one of the conditions at the end of, on the end of this letter.
We can
Was
do
going to
that.
be, because you just had, it was a general submitted the landscape plan. Well, I just want to make sure that that's, a condition that's going to be landscaped, it's going to be seeded, to blend in more so it doesn't look like a mound of soil.
We can do that. So if you guys want to add that condition, I'll make sure that I incorporate that for town council. I can do that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that a plan that you could share with us?
Are you asking me about the plan?
If somebody could share, can we see what it looks like?
I can get that. I think, Chris, I think I joined the town just after that
Okay.
time period. So I don't think I have that plan, but I think Ryan may have that plan, which is, Ryan is available tonight if we need to text him, but he's in very spotty reception area. But I can maybe get it from him, or maybe you have it. I'm not sure.
I'm sure we have a copy as well. I don't personally at the moment, but yes, Ryan does have that. There was a plan, there is a plan, and we're happy to continue to follow that plan. But it did include, like I said, the seeding and just making sure it's done properly. There's SWIP, there's drainage, there's everything that needs to be considered. It was a permitted process to do that whole thing. But yeah, we're certainly happy to continue with that and make sure it looks right.
So Rachel, I'll work
Also
with
with
him.
the timeline on that.
Timeline?
Yeah,
Which timeline?
on when that will be completed.
I believe the seating needed, I just talked to my contractor and he was saying by fall. There might be a little more detail than that, but he said he needed to seed this year. So before the warm season ends, we need to make sure we seed.
So the
So
spring.
Chris, is that assuming that phases, do you anticipate there's a phase 4 and a 5, or just a phase 4, or have you guys decided?
We have not decided 4 or 5. Yeah.
Do you think that those will be then complete by fall of next year? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think most of the excavation will be,
Okay.
and that would also trigger. And we're happy to seed parts that would be complete if there is too. So we're happy to do that now. I know he wanted to start last year, and then Bill thought that maybe he had a little bit more of a plan that he wanted to do first before we officially did. But we had anticipated to do a portion of it last year. So maybe kind of, if we are going to make a note on this as kind of a condition that I could prepare more and give a more clear plan at town council on this item. I'd be happy to do that, because at least I could review a little better and map out kind of mile markers this year that could be completed.
That's perfect. Okay. Does that answer your question, Rachel? And I can get you a copy of that plan, and we'll make sure that goes to council then, so that there is a date, and we'll coordinate with Chris to make sure that it's achievable.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay.
I have a question. So more than 42 acres of the 58 plus acre site is proposed to be preserved as undisturbed open space. What is the ratio of open space to building that is required by the town?
We typically, it depends on the size of the subdivision, right? And so this one was vested before the new code, but it is typically a ratio, and it ends up being around 10 to 15%. If you give me a second, I can give you an exact number. But with the amount of land that is open, for this particular project, they well exceed any
Yeah,
requirement.
yeah, that's obvious. I guess I'm just looking at it as, gee, I really would like a lot of open space, so I'm not like opposed to that, but gee, maybe we could fit a Trader Joe's in there.
I like where you're going. I was not anticipating that comment going that direction. So,
Well, no, I mean, we keep talking about there's no land left in the town, but and that is 10 to 15%. I think where I moved from, I think it had to be 25%. Had to be open space, but gosh, if we really need the revenue, then, and it's a pretty what, central place. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm happy to explore anything with it. I don't know if that was to me. I'm happy to
I don't know who it
explore
was
anything
to.
with
It was
anyone,
I'm just, throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Glennis, what we could do is we could take a look at it. I think that you'll probably, Chris, you'll have a little bit better understanding of the slopes up there because we don't have all of the mapping for that since it's a non-developable site, at least as currently presented, right? But we want to look at the slopes and see how steep it is, that kind of thing, because I think that it might be a pretty steep area, but we can certainly look at that with Chris. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Trader Joe's spaghetti is sticky, so I think we could make it fit up there on the. I'm teasing. It is quite steep up there, so that would be the challenge.
okay, because and you said you weren't sure that you were going to do 4 or 5 phases, so you don't know how many acres you're going to be left with.
Oh, no, I think the amount he'll be left with is still the 42 acres because he got the preliminary subdivision for the entire area for all 5 phases or 4 phases that he wants to build out. So that's been determined. So the 42 is a preservation area.
Oh, okay.
Some type, however that's defined.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or concerns from the commissioners?
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
So actually, I have 2 questions. The first is, has there, and forgive me if this has already been totally flushed out, but I couldn't find it. And that is, what is the assessment of the adequacy of the water supply in terms of supplying a development of this size? And what are the assumptions that underline that assessment?
I can take a stab at that unless Thomas, you were ready.
No, you can speak to the water rights far better than I can.
So when we began this process some time ago, and I'm just going to say probably in 2018, myself, that rascal Nate Brockbank, I'm kidding, I love Nate, but and a few others of us all worked with JSSD to map out that. So they did water calculations. There was a ton of, and it wasn't just us, it was all around the lake and down in the Heber Valley. There was probably, I'm going to say 8 or 9 landowners that needed to, so we actually put up upfront costs. So we paid all of our connections up front. I would just say across the board, there was, again, lots of properties, but everyone put up a couple $1 million to improve infrastructure so that the water calculations, and again, we had to provide the water shares, but ultimately they had to upsize their system so that the whole water program would work. But there was a lot of time and effort put into that with JSSD. 3 or 4 years ago, and we entered into agreements with JSSD to make sure that we could purchase those rights when we needed them up front. And now we're just kind of fulfilling those contracts that we have with them.
So, what, for example, is there a report somewhere that could be reviewed? I'm curious about, what are the assumptions that go into it? In other words, how many gallons per unit? What are the assumptions in terms of, occupancy? In other words, obviously a lot of these are second and sometimes third homes, and so people don't use a whole lot of water. But I'm curious about the assumptions that go into that, and I'm wondering, is there some kind of calculation, some kind of assessment that would be available somewhere to look at?
So there is. Essentially the county came up with those calculations, and I can get you those for sure, but there is a usage study that they apply not only for residential units, but then the type of residential unit, and then the landscaping needs as well. So it kind of tries to back into all the factors and then somehow come up with the proper contingencies within those numbers too. So on my end, I kind of know that we needed X amount of shares and they'll convert to the state, and then they also convert again when they go over to JSSD, and then those get some kind of a application amount, or sorry, a conversion amount applied per unit based on their allocation to the type of unit.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be very interested in understanding, what is, for example, what is the maximum supply capability, and how close are we? Are we 10%? Are we 80%? Be curious to see that if it's available.
I do think I can. It's pretty available, and I can get a hold of that and get that. I'll get that to you, Thomas, if you could pass that along. But I'll get that. He used to work for the town. He was an engineer, and he does those. So he provides a letter based on, not to say an appraisal, but it's a third-party report consistent to the plans at JSSD. And then he'll review the site, review the town, the units, the landscape area, and then he provides that letter, and Jackson is his last name.
Okay. Well, thank you for addressing it. My other question has already been kind of raised. I guess more of an echo. I was wondering about commercial development, and this wasn't, I'm not the first person to raise this, but a lot of people would prefer not to travel into Park City or Heber or Camas for simple things like groceries or a restaurant or takeout. And I think we could make the community a lot more attractive by providing some basic level of grocery, gas, restaurant, takeout, that kind of thing. And so I would echo the previous concerns about, where is that going to be? Where is it going to come from?
My comment is, so I followed that pretty well when we were working on the annexation up the street, and I know that's a whole bag too. So I kind of felt like that might have been a trick question to see where I was on that, but I'm teasing. I agree, we need it. We were in full support, and now that we, at the moment, don't have a nice commercial, because I look at it as amenity, and all my buyers were looking at it as an amenity. We all want that. No one wants to drive, not that we don't love Park City, all the way into Park City to get what we need. So I am happy to work with. We want the same things. We're aligned on that. Slope makes it a little challenging on my site, but I'm happy to sit down and explore. I mean, I love the idea of spitballing or just trying to see what could work. We're open to those discussions.
Okay, well, thank you for addressing that.
You bet.
I guess my big concern is that, the annexation is up in the air, and it will be up in the air for a long time. And, unless there's some settlement between the parties, which I'm not privy to, but in any event, I just think that it's time to start planning as though that might not happen. And because if you put all your eggs in one basket, we all know what happens.
I follow that, and I think it would be great. Hideout's got everything. Maybe it could use a little bit more of that component to just round it out. Not a lot, but just enough that would really make Hideout really, it already is. I still think it's one of the best places in the state. So, but I agree. It'd be great to work with you guys a little bit on figuring out if we could be a part of that how that would work, we're interested in looking.
All right, well, thank you.
Maybe I can at least start with you and just see what's possible on that.
Well, thank you for addressing that.
You bet.
Any other issues, concerns, questions from the commissioners?
Mm.
Okay. Tony, I'll turn it over to you. I think it
Okay,
is a
thank you.
public session.
Okay, being that there's no more questions, does anybody like to make a motion to either give a positive or negative recommendation to the town council for this?
Tony, I
Excuse
think
me, Tony,
open
it's-
it up as a public hearing. We have to open it to the public.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No
This is public. Okay, do we have anyone on the line who would like to ask a question about this? Okay, there being no response to that, I will ask again if there is anyone who would like to make a motion, whether for a positive or negative recommendation to the town council in regard to this project.
I'll move that we positively recommend to the town council regarding the final claim Phase 3 subdivision with the recommended conditions of approval, 1 through 8. In addition, that that there be something said about the mound being landscaped.
Okay. Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second it, Tony.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay. Then we'll take a vote on it. Ryan?
Tony, Ryan had to leave the meeting, so he is not here any longer.
Okay, thank you. And Glynis?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
And Tony's a yes. Therefore, we will present this to town council with a positive recommendation. Okay. Going on to item number 2 in the public hearing.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Continued
evening.
review and possible recommendation to town council regarding subdivision lot amendment to Hideout Canyon Lot 37. Thomas, am I wrong in thinking that we're going to continue this to a date uncertain?
That is correct. They're still working on some additional information that had been requested. And so I think that we'll continue to a date uncertain rather than go month to month with it. They did reach out to the property owner, the adjacent property owner that the planning commission had asked for input from, and they have that information. They just haven't resolved their site triangle issues, some of their issues with regard to retaining walls for the elevated driveway, some landscaping, and so they're putting that together. So I presume maybe they'll have that ready for next month, but we recommend continuation to a date uncertain.
Okay, so seeing that this is open for public comment, is there anyone online who would like to make has a question or make a comment in regards to this?
They have started building there, haven't they?
No, that's lot 39.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce.
Polly, I have a question. Can I just move this over, or do I need to take a vote?
You should take a vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll now take a vote in regard to moving this to continue it to a date uncertain. Glynis?
Yes.
Donna?
Donna, you're on mute.
Did someone need to make the motion before we start voting?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just figured seeing that we're just moving it, I could just ask for a vote. I apologize. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to move this?
Can we-
to a date uncertain?
Can we put 2 and 3 together? And
First, I have to ask if anyone has any because it's on for public comment.
Right.
All right, does anyone have any questions in regard to the subdivision lot amendment to Hideout Canyon Lot R3? Okay. There being no response, will someone like to make a motion to move items 2 and 3 to a date uncertain?
I'll move that we move items 2 and 3 to some potential date in the future.
Okay, and does anybody second that?
I'll second
I'll
it.
say,
Thank you. All right, Glennis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes,
Bruce,
yes,
Rachel,
Yes,
and Tony's a yes. Okay, therefore those 2 items we move to a date uncertain until all the requirements are meant to bring it back on the calendar. Okay, item 5 on the agenda, the follow-up presentation and discussion of the concept plan and potential rezoning for a planned community development project on the Saltzman property. I don't know, is Mark and McKay on the line?
Yeah, Todd and I are both here.
Okay.
Yep, I'm
Before we start this, I just want, and this is only my personal opinion, has nothing to do with anybody else on the commission. Guys, the more I think about this, you're asking us basically to increase the door count 500% from what it's zoned for. To make a childish comparison, it's like watching Willy Wonka and asking us to hand you the golden ticket. With what you guys are proposing, other than the hotel, I don't think it's doing justice to the town. There's got to be some more commercial involved in there, whether you guys want to develop it, or if you want to, then this is only my personal opinion, or do you want to donate some of the land to the town and let us develop it commercially? I just wanted to put that out there before we go through the rest of the concept, as my opinion with this project.
can I second
That
that
being
and
said-
say I agree?
Thomas, I'll turn it over to you to take us through it.
Okay. So thanks for that, Mr. Chairman. So we've been coordinating pretty closely with Todd and McKay. And so the staff report that you see in front of you is basically an update from the staff report that you saw at the last meeting. So I'll just go through some of this kind of quickly by way of background so that you all understand what we're looking at. Again, you kind of can see on this front page the location of the development in red down there. So this is kind of the 114, 112 acres that are just sitting below Golden Eagle. And so this is that area that's kind of between, say, Town Hall on the one side, on the kind of far west side, and then moving up across SR 248 toward toward Golden Eagle, sorry. If you go to the next page, Alicia, you could see right now, this is currently zoned mountain. Right now, what is before you is a kind of a pre-concept plan so that Todd and McKay can get your input to help direct them as they continue to refine the design, continue to look at the concept plan, et cetera. Their proposal is for about 610 units, give or take 574 ERUs, kind of our density calculations per our code. We're walking through the exact calculations right now, but approximately that. Some ERUs can be smaller for, say, hotel rooms and things like that. They don't use a full ERU, so you could end up with 610 units, but not quite that number of ERUs, just given that some hotel rooms and condos may be 0.75 of an ERU. Again, we're working through those calculations. You don't have to think too much about that right now, but that's the proposal at present. The concept plan that you see on this page was submitted, and it does include an additional retail pad just to the northeast of the hotel. If you're assuming north is on the top here, I can't, unfortunately, I don't have the ability to kind of annotate that, but there is a small retail pad proposed there based on the direction that you all provided at the last meeting. And I know there's still an issue with regard to commercial development, and we'll discuss that. And I'm sure Todd and McKay have some thoughts with regard to that. But if you go to the next page, Alicia, what I tried to do was walk through kind of a comparison so that people understood the density, people understood what the project could look like, what it would look like. And so it is a significant ask in terms of density, no mistake. It is worth noting that a large portion of that density will be contained within the hotel. So it's some smaller rooms that are contained within a larger building, which kind of preserves some of the open space in the kind of residential, the remaining residential component of the concept plan. I think that as we have the discussion tonight, it'll be really helpful if you all can give Todd and McKay as much specific input as you can. They have a pretty tight timeline that they're working under with regard to this project. And so I think as specific as we, it'll be very beneficial to them. If you can scroll up just a little bit, Alicia, or the other way, sorry, scroll the other way. The concept of a town center has been on the Planning Commission's mind, Town Council's mind, and so that idea of getting some local commercial is important. There's not a lot of space within the community to do it, but we also recognize that commercial in this area is hard. Certainly, it was brought up like the annexation area would be an ideal spot, but we don't know where that's going to end up, and we're probably not going to know for a year or so. This particular location has some. It has some slope, and it's a nice location, and it could provide some very local commercial, maybe kind of small, very specialty kind of commercial. And Todd and McKay will walk through some of their ideas tonight for some commercial that could be connected to the hotel, maybe almost turning the hotel inside out. So there's almost a mini Main Street, if you will, maybe some restaurants, boutique specialty shops, coffee shop, that kind of thing. So connected to a hotel, but also accessible to the town. And that opportunity to kind of flip that and do that kind of design might start to get some of the commercial that might be appropriate for this location, since it's not on the main road. One of the discussions we've had with them is, what if there's just a small pocket taken out that is reserved for future commercial? Commercial development is hard to do. Residential typically comes first. Retail follows residential rooftops. And so far, we don't have full residential development in the town of Hideout, or the Wasatch Back for that matter, but it's taking place pretty quickly. So the idea was, just an idea, was pull out, 5, 10, 15 acres, pull out an area and kind of reserve that as a future commercial phase, and really have the town coordinate, help market, look at opportunities, to practically give away. You almost have to give away commercial land, right? Residential is the profitable part of development. Commercial is the really tough part, right? And so the idea that was outlined on this page, if you had an opportunity to read it, was, what if we pulled that out and we enter into kind of an MDA with the developer, and this becomes the final phase of development. If we're not able to develop it as this kind of very local commercial over the course of the 5 years or whatever the build out for the project is, maybe then it reverts back to the developer. It was a try, but maybe we didn't succeed. But it's just an opportunity to get us all thinking, how can we find this win-win if this project were to move forward? So that was one discussion with commercial. I don't know if you guys want to kind of touch on that right now, or you want me to walk through my report and circle back, but I know that has been on your minds, and it's been on Todd and McKay's mind as well. And they've made some proposals with regard to, as I said, kind of flipping the hotel and incorporating some retail up at the near the hotel entrance as well. I don't know if you guys can necessarily see that on here. It's pretty small, but do you want it to have that discussion now, or want me to walk through this? Any preference?
I say keep going, and we'll circle back to it, I think, Thomas.
Okay, that's fine. Alicia, if you go to the next page. There's also been some discussion with regard to trails, et cetera. I know that there was a significant trail system that's been outlined on the concept plan. The Planning Commission at the last meeting noted, what are our opportunities to connect across SR 248? So that's a discussion that perhaps we could provide direction for Todd and McKay. The open space and buffers. The commission noted at the last meeting, there were some concerns about maybe the density of the sixplexes up against the Golden Eagle line. Some of this can probably be resolved with strict design standards in an MDA, but I thought that it was worth having that discussion where you think if you make a recommendation for, if you're considering making a recommendation for the concept plan, what kind of density, what kind of buildings do you want to see the density in? Or is there something you don't want, a building typology that you don't think is appropriate for density? I think that would be helpful for Todd and McKay to know that moving forward. And then I think the last one noted on here was the infrastructure. I think Ralph may be on, and Scott, I think, might be on tonight to maybe walk through any questions that you all might have with regard to a PID, a public improvement district, which would be the mechanism that they would be asking the town council to allow for in terms of infrastructure development. And then the next steps we'll get into at the end of the meeting. But those were kind of the big topics that were raised at the last meeting. We've had the opportunity to work with Todd and McKay a little bit over the course of the past couple of weeks as we prepare for this meeting. And I think they may have some thoughts and or maybe some ideas they want to convey to you, and or if you guys have any specific questions for them. I know commercial development's on your mind, but if there are any other issues that you want them to address, I think now's an opportunity to kind of lay that on the table. Are there any specific questions you all have for me or Todd? And if not, I could always turn it over to Todd to kind of, and McKay to kind of outline where they are.
Thomas, just one question to you that maybe you can help us put this in perspective. You did a little bit with the acres between the couple of developments, Deer Waters, and I forget what the other one was, but can you put it in perspective? 600 units. Where else in Hideout is there any kind of development that big? I mean, how many is Golden Eagle versus
Golden Eagle is
Soaring
about
Hawk?
Golden Eagle, I think, is about 380-ish, I think. Soaring Hawk, I think, is around 145. Don't hold me. I'm
Yeah, just approximate. Just trying to get it in perspective. 600 units just seems. I mean, I know Shoreline, when it's all complete, all 285 phases of it, that it's going to be somewhere around 700, I believe, which would be about the closest that I can think of. But most of the other are significantly smaller, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on smaller parcels of land, and they're a little bit smaller. Shoreline's on, I think, about 166 acres. I think it's a little bigger, but yeah, most of your subdivisions and your developments tend to hover on. They're a little bit under that. Yeah.
That's that thing I think we're all grappling with. It's a huge amount of density on a piece of property. It's not flat. It's pretty rolling and moving around. It just seems like just too much density, even if we weren't asking for some commercial, which would be much more of a benefit to the town. It just seems too big, period, for that space up there. Just that's kind of my observation anyway. So I'm interested to hear from the developers, where they've moved from the last time we talked to them.
So, Thomas, the hotel, how many of those 600 units does the hotel represent?
The hotel would have approximately, I've got to pull that up, but
150.
150. Yeah, that's got about 150 of the units in the hotel. And then
Okay.
I think B&B has approximately, is it 20 or 50, McKay? Todd?
20, and then we have condos that are another like 120. So I mean, the vast majority of it are a hotel and condo that take up a relatively small footprint.
McKay, are the condos that you're speaking of, the 150, are those incorporated within the hotel, or those kind of the larger buildings that are kind of
Those are the
drive up.
Yeah, those are the larger buildings. And right now it's showing 144 and 144. I think that's going to change, or it's probably going to move up on the hotel portion and move down on the condo portion. But yeah, those are the unit counts right now. And just on that, I mean, well, I'll wait for you. I don't want to jump in. I want to make sure you guys finish.
And I like to comment about the hotel. We do have Black Rock down the street with the hotel, the condos there, and the bar and the restaurant. Soon, and I guess soon to be ice skating rinks. Before, I'm a little uncomfortable even putting a hotel there when I would hate to have an empty building. And I'd like to see like how BlackRock is doing. Is there like a cost analysis? Do we know anything how they're making out? And, BlackRock is, several miles closer to Park City. Here we're kind of, we're by Camas.
Has anybody else gotten to go up and take a look at the property?
No, I'm not able to at this point.
I would highly recommend going up to see the property. It's gorgeous. It's like a little slice of heaven up there. Just the way it's laid out, the pond, it just has a nice feel of relaxation, and it's up at the top there of that hill, and I don't know, it really is a beautiful property. And I mean, when I read the density again myself, the same thought came to mind, but I do think some of it is in the hotel. Or not some of it, a good part of it is in the hotel. And I believe BlackRock is like totally sold out.
So I do know BlackRock is planning to build another whole building.
Another what?
An additional high rise.
Wow.
That's half of it.
That's only half of it?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, as far as even the restaurant and the bar, you know what I mean? How often do people go there? Obviously people here in Hideout, I would think would maybe want to frequent their neighborhood restaurant. But, I'm just wondering, I mean, it was just a question that I'm not so sure how they're doing, but that's good to know. If you know that for sure, they're building another one.
Yep. So I have a question about the hotel restaurant. Do we know what kind of views it would have? Would it have views of the lake? Because I think that's one thing that they don't
And then
have.
Timpanogos and it's really a primo spot.
Because I think if we could have views of the lake, that would definitely be an asset.
I think it would be, I mean, we offered this to and I apologize, I don't know if it's okay for me to jump in, but.
Please do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think the last time we met, we offered to have any planning committee, anybody come up that wants to come up. We're going to be up there tomorrow from 10:30 to 2 to 3:30. I mean, we'll be up there all day and actively showing different people the property. We've got several meetings up there. And so if any of you have the opportunity to come up, please come up, because when you look at our plan, it is so hard to understand what's happening until you get on the property. And it's hard. I sent over to Thomas. He probably is not checking no business checking his email probably right now, but we've highlighted the areas where we're going to put the commercial. We've got 2 restaurants, actually 3 restaurants up there. and we've got some mixed use commercial. We'll step through all of that plan. The views from these restaurant locations will take your breath away. They're stunning. It's beautiful. I would highly recommend that you get up there. And I think the concept, I know that we're spending a little bit of time on, quite a bit of time on density. About 50% of our density is consolidated into the hotel and those condos. Bob Martino has 525 total units between I've got a listing from it, shows he's got 427 lots in Golden Eagle, but that may be wrong. Either way, he doesn't have a single amenity on almost 500, over 500 lots, not one amenity. What is he? Has he offered the community anything? Not a thing. We're big fans of everything that's going on with Homes and everybody else, but I don't know if there's any commercial or any amenities offered over there. If you look at our plan, we've got 150 key hotel. We have 2 high-end restaurants that we want to bring in. We've got a community clubhouse that includes 2,000 square feet of fitness, and this is open to everybody. 2,000 square feet of fitness, 2,000 square feet of aerobics, 1,500 square foot coffee and juice shop, and a pro shop, so people could go rent a paddle board or something like that and go out on the pond, or pickleball paddles or something like that. We've got another building that includes anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor, and probably condos or something like that above. We have more retail than anybody in the community, and not only that, but we're also offering and more commercial space, but we're also offering amenities in the community. Unlike, there's nothing offered, nothing in Hideout. I mean, Bob has left a golf course completely desolate and abandoned to the point where 9 holes have been shut down. We've got a pond, we've got 3 pickleball courts, we've got a pool, we have an amphitheater that we've added, we've got a food court a roundup for food truck location. Yes, 600 units, maybe more per acre and from an ERU standpoint, it's 575 or something like that. Which, by the way, our estate lots account for 2 units per acre, 2 ERUs. So it skews things in a funny way, because estate lots actually take 2 ERUs per unit. While we do have more density, we are offering something that the town of Hideout, that nobody in the town of Hideout has offered, not ever. And all of it comes at a huge expense. And so what Todd and I have really tried to do is offer a lifestyle for the entire town of Hideout. It's not just exclusive to our property, for the entire town of Hideout to come up and be able to use, and then offer retail that is legitimately doable. There are 3,500 people. There are 996 people in Hideout and 2,539 people in Camas. We're in the middle of nowhere, not in the middle of nowhere, but we're out there. We are out there from a retail standpoint. And if we overbuild retail, we'll go broke on that retail. Todd and I have 25,000 square feet of we've got 4 pads. We went through this in a project in Pleasant Grove. It's a mixed use development. The city demanded that we have 25,000 square feet of retail. We've got 4 retail pads on a highway that's with a massive population, good incomes. And we've got, over 30,000 cars a day right on in front of us, and phenomenal demographics. And we are struggling to find tenants. It's just for what it is that we have right here, the amount of retail that we're providing, it is a lot.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How are you going? It's Scott Davis.
Good, Scott.
I think you make some excellent points. I do believe that what I would like to see, because I've been up to your property, and so I can concur that with the views that you have, that it creates value in me wanting to spend money there in terms of the beauty and the things of that nature. What I think even would help me, and I've been on the property, was if you could So give us like the things that you're outlining in terms of the commercial. If I could get a visualization of it. I mean, I'm not using a good word on it right now, but somehow you're like, this is our outline. This is what it looks like. And I think the other thing, in which I'm happy to contributor, I can't be there tomorrow, but who is the retailer that's there? Because I have had conversations, a lot of conversations for knowing this project with everybody that I know at Tuahay. And there is a strong feeling that if you had, and it came up earlier in a different project with Claim, like if we had a Trader Joe's or something of value that could draw the population of Tuahay, Camas, Hideout, but also people from Park City, that I guess it's a superior value in what people are looking for.
Scott,
yes.
if
I'm just throwing it out there.
If Trader Joe's is coming to Park City, it's going downtown. Period. Right. Period. If Tuahay loves the idea, I would say, why aren't they building it? There's no way I'm just telling you candidly, there's no way in this life Trader Joe's comes to this market and picks this location as their location.
Mm-hmm.
I was just throwing them out as an
no
example.
way on this earth that will happen.
Well, how about this? This is Todd, by the way, Scott.
Yeah.
If the town can get Trader Joe's to come to the site, we will give them the ground to build their store on. 100%.
No. Listen,
give them the ground to make it an absolute lay down economic win for them. If you can get them to come to the site, we will give them the ground.
First of all, I want to say is I just used it as a brand name of value. I wasn't saying you had to go find them. So I didn't want to say that. I was just like, if I say Trader Joe's, everybody goes, okay, I get it. So please don't take it as a personal
but Scott,
I get it.
No, I don't. We don't. But look at the grocery pad site that's 3 or 4 miles closer to downtown Park City than we are. It's vacant. It's on a hard corner and it's been sitting there for years with a worn out sign on the front. And it's because I can't tell you how much retail we own an outlet mall that has 240,000 square feet of stores. Like we have gone through leasing. I have gone through leasing. I know what they are looking for. I know what they need. And they will just, they walk in and they are looking at that retail pad down the street from you guys. And they're drawing concentric rings around that. And they're saying, tell me the population, tell me the incomes, and tell me the traffic. And they're going to be like, you got 3,500 people out here. That's not happening. And I know it's frustrating. Believe me, we have developed stuff that's in the path of growth. We have developed stuff that is in the middle of growth. And retail is think about it. You got some little guy that's out there and he's putting his neck on the line for some major corporation. If that thing fails, he loses his job. They look at data. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to have a Chick-fil-A. Good luck. Like they just have a metrics. They have a metrics that they've got to fit into the box of their corporations. And if it fits inside that box, they go. And it's built on decades and decades of experience that tell them that if you have these things there, you will do X amount of gross sales. And so trust me, I would love it. What Todd and what we recognize, this is community commercial that's going to support the people that are out here. So you're we're going to have a hard conversation about how we fill that 2,500 to 4,000 square foot mixed use retail. Like what goes in there? Like literally what goes into that space where the community can support. It's going to be a mixture of that. And then we have to make the restaurants such a destination, which to Todd's point, like when he talks about giving away the ground, we've done that before. By the way, we did it with Cabela's in Lehigh, gave them the ground, 40 acres. Okay. But we got an outlet mall out of it and we got a lot of commercial. Okay. But, we create an experience up there where people say, okay, I'm going to drive out here so I can have dinner. I'm not going to drive out there to get my groceries. It just ain't going to happen. But I will drive out there to have dinner if the experience is such that I'm like, that's a one of a kind. But even with that, please understand, most restaurateurs are like, I want to be around that 2 million square feet of office right there because during lunch, I want a massive lunch crowd during lunch. And then I want to work. And then during dinner, I'll be able to fill up my tickets on dinner. But on this, they're going to say, what's driving traffic during the daytime? Who's coming out here? Like, who's going to come out in the middle of the workday to go eat at that spot? And it's going to be a challenge. Now, Todd and I, we feel like we can do it. We can create a sense of place, but it's not something where, you carve out 10 acres, you're talking 100,000 square. I mean, it's generally 10,000 square feet for every acre, right? You're carving out 100,000. That's like, we're struggling to fill 250,000 square feet of retail at the point of the mountain. And so, yeah, I hope you understand what it is we're saying. We love the vision. We understand what you're going for. We want to get there, but it's got to fit within what the market can bear. And what we're showing here, we believe we're going to have to push. There's a hard story to tell, a very difficult, hard story to tell, and it's going to cost us a lot of money to create it, but we think we can. And I'm hoping that you guys see and understand that we can't just write the book on what it is that we want to bring up.
Well, and I think to add to McKay's point, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is. I'm not kidding when I say, if we can get somebody, or if the town can help us get somebody up there, we will give them the ground. We want it as bad as you guys want it. And we're willing to do a lot of things that we don't normally do to get that vision, to have that vision realized. But we've also got to be realistic with it. And the biggest thing is the rooftops are what drive the retail demand, not the other way around. And so retailers need to see the rooftops in order to be willing to take the risk to go out there that the demand is there.
McKay and Todd, when you guys think about the type of commercial that could be there, you're thinking more of kind of specialty, kind of destination, kind of experiential, I'm guessing, right? Because to your point, you're not on a heavily trafficked road, right?
Yeah.
But you create quite kind of that quaint space for maybe the community and the visitors to the hotel. I think that's what you're thinking.
Yes, you're right, Thomas. That's why I'm like, please come out and look at this site. You walk through this 14,000 square foot estate, and Todd and I were going to plow money into that thing. And so it turns into a destination restaurant. You sit out on that deck with a cup of coffee or a dinner and whatever, and you look out at that views, you say to yourself, I could come eat here. I get it. I could come eat here. Like that something, it's sort of like Sundance, like we've talked about, Thomas, is the best comparison that I can come to, even though they've got, a ski resort that's feeding them. We don't have any of that. Like, people are going to come and eat and leave, right?
You know what I kind of saw when I went up there is, there's the PC Mark, there's there's Basin Rec. I could see the facilities there for the yoga, for the gym, for the pool. That to me is what will draw a lot of people there.
I agree with you on that. But again, that is, so we've got a 5,000-6,000 square foot, we call it a clubhouse for lack of a better word. But we've got that in there. We've got the fitness center. We've got the aerobics rooms in that building. We're going to have a coffee shop. Like, I completely agree with you. I can see someone going and doing yoga and sitting out on the deck of that building and having a coffee and just enjoying the view back out over the pond and the pickleball courts and everything else, or going and playing pickleball and getting a protein shake after you. All of that will be supported by our community, our 3,500 people, right? Like we'll support that. Like our 3,500 people are going to support that fitness area because there's nothing like it out here. It's like it's just nothing there. It's going to support the coffee shop. It's going to support maybe a little bit of the rentals and stuff like that. But then you have to start asking yourself, okay, what else can 3,500 people support if it's not a restaurant that's bringing you all the way out there and then you're going all the way down, like going all the way back when you leave? And we think in the hotel, we can do that. We build a hotel. It's a destination place for the hotel. We think that the hotel, its views are what's going to drive that. People will come because of those views, and they'll stay and eat at a great restaurant, use all of the amenities and that sort of thing. So we're like, okay, we got 2 restaurants up here, plus we have the clubhouse with all the things we just described. And then we have that future retail pad with the retail on the ground floor of that, and then the food truck roundup spot. And those things for Todd and I were like, okay, it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take a restaurateur who's like, I mean, think of it, guys. The restaurateur is going to be like, okay, I'm going to take 4,000 square feet, and then I got to pay rent on 4,000 square feet. Like my mortgage is going to be $200,000, $250,000 a year, right? Like, are they going to want to do that? Are they going to come up here and say, okay, how many people can come out here and support my restaurant year round? Those are the questions that they're going to ask themselves. And Todd and I would just sit back and say, we think we can tell that story and get them there.
I did want to bring one point up. Did you say that there are right now 900 residents in Hideout?
Well, the last census that I just looked it up while it may be slightly outdated, but it's 996, about 1,000 people, which I think is consistent with what I was told by someone at the city.
So we're growing, as look out the window. And so we need to look at the projection, because we still have shoreline, we still have Deer Springs and Deer Waters and Claim. I think
it doesn't count Deer Mountain. And it doesn't count Deer Mountain.
And doesn't count Deer Mountain. So it's going to be a lot more. So we have to put this in perspective. First of all, and we also have Toohey across the street.
Sky Ridge.
Is Sky Ridge. So I don't know if you were counting that in your numbers. The other thing is there is a rec center, a very, very good rec center in Camas. I don't know if it's South Summit or North Summit Rec Center. My husband belongs. It's reasonable, even though we were not part of Summit County. He has to pay out of county fees, but it's very reasonable. Shoreline is going to be building down below here is going to be a pool rec center. So we're going to have that. I'm going to be looking at it down here. We have to take this all into consideration. I like your idea. I love the whole rec center thing, being close by. You have options. But I just want to put it in perspective for people that it isn't just 1,000 people. And we're going to have other amenities here from Shoreline. The amphitheater, the paddleball courts from Nate, so there's going to be, it isn't like we don't have anything, or we're not going to have anything. So I just wanted to put that in, make that clear. And that's 4 miles down the street is the other rec center in Camas, which probably most of the people here don't even know about. But I am concerned again. I am concerned also about the 610 units. I know most of it is going to be would be hotel. I'm not keen on sixplexes. And how is it going to
sorry, Donna, I apologize, but they're only 3 plexes. The way that they're drawn, they look funny, but they're only 3 plexes.
Well, it just was, I was reading, this is especially true under open space buffers. This is especially true where the proposed concept plan proposes 6-plex buildings up against family fabric.
They're 3 plexes. They look like, the way that they're drawn, they look like they're 6s, like little tiny, but they're not. Each one of those squares is actually, it's one. So there's 3 units on each of those.
And what was I going to say? So yeah, the 6, okay. So just make sure I really am not, I'm not going to vote for anything that's going to be so dense. And I know you want the density to support the hotel, to support the restaurant. And one thing I do want to say, I thank you, Glynis, for your input, for, telling us what the views looks like. I don't know if anybody's heard of the Lake House on Deer Creek Reservoir. People here in Park City are driving there just to go to dinner because it's so beautiful there. So I'm torn with that, with what you're saying. I can see it must be beautiful from up there, and I want to go and take a look. But I am also concerned about our community and what does the community want? And I know it's getting, it's going to be pretty big. And I know overcrowding and the traffic, and then, added traffic lights. I know that's, that's going to be an issue because you're going to have more traffic coming out of this neighborhood. And I'm honestly, I don't want any more traffic lights. I came from traffic lights on the East Coast. That's what I got away from, but I just really want to support what our community wants. And I know overbuilding is not part of it. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, my perspective is I haven't really had time to look through this new document. I think we just got it this afternoon. I didn't see it until shortly before the meeting. So it sounds like, Todd and McKay, that there's some new stuff in here that from the last time we talked about, with more commercial and potential pads and things. I don't know if Thomas, did you want to circle back and go through some of the new details, like what's different in this view than we saw last month?
So I think that basically what is different, and I can let Todd and McKay walk through this, but I think that they did add some a retail pad space up near the hotel. And Todd and McKay, you guys could maybe elaborate on that in terms of kind of what you're thinking.
Is there any way to make this any larger?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, thank you.
My face is up to the screen.
And Alicia, you might go to the one above that. It doesn't have any drawings on it. It might be easier to read. The one on the page above, right above there. There you go. If that's easier to read, sure.
So we added an amphitheater. We added a food truck rally kind of area where you can pull food trucks in and over by the amphitheater. And then we also added a mixed use retail pad, retail on the ground floor and residential above it.
And that last one, where would that be? The retail below and the residential above?
It's, Thomas, maybe you can scroll over the top of it, but it's right by the hotel.
You can see my cursor, but it's where the hotel is. If you go to the condotel, there you go. Go to the right a little bit and
right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many story building were you thinking there? And
probably 3. You'd have retail on the ground floor and then 2 levels above.
And parking underneath, or?
Yeah, that's exactly. You're going to have to park around the back side of it. Some type of podium or something like that, which is, it's expensive, very.
And can you just go through what the breakout of in this particular, what would be townhomes, what would be condos, the bed and breakfast, I think, in the hotel, and then there's some single family as well, someplace, right?
Yeah, it's, in fact, most of it is all detached. Everything is almost everything are detached single family residential units. The only thing that is attached, the townhomes on the north end, they were referred to as 6plexes, but they're 3plexes all on the north end. Those are the townhomes. Yep, up there.
Okay.
And then we call just beneath that, all those single family detached homes, we call those casitas. They're like kind of like trapper, like they're similar to the trapper cabins at Promontory.
Right.
And then we have all of the villas are beneath that, a single family detached product. And actually that needs to be better illustrated. They actually have wider separation than that looks like. We need to do a better job of that. To the right of that are estate lots that go anywhere from 1/3 to an acre. And then on the far left, as you kind of come into the community, those are lodge, we call those, that's our lodges product. Again, single family homes. And so then the bulk of the units, all of that comprises about 300 units. The bulk of the units are the hotel, which has 150 units. It's got a restaurant in it. And then you have the condo, these condos that are right beneath it, those 6 buildings.
Mhm.
And then you have the boutique hotel, which is just to the right of it. That only has like 20 units in it. It's mostly restaurant. And that's it for the most part.
McKay, what do you envision the kind of those condo buildings? What number of units per building? I know you don't have it detailed, but maybe how many stories, maybe how many units per, give or take?
I think that we have, what do we have? 6 buildings over there. So you're going to end up with like a little over maybe 20 units per building or something.
Mm.
Do you have a mock-up of this? Like a up there, or if we come up tomorrow, can we see a better picture?
Oh, no. Yes, absolutely. If you come up tomorrow, we'll drive you over through the site. We can go up inside the estate home that's up there, and you'll be able to catch a vision of how the whole thing lays out.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it's helpful to see it. I really, really do.
I agree.
Can I just remind you all, if you do go, we need to be careful not to have a quorum. Or
Also,
else
2 at a time.
do is do a site visit and notice it, and do it in a future time where it's noticed, and then we can do it as a group.
And Todd and I will be up there almost all day. I mean, if you tell us what time you need to be there, we'll be there. And so he and I can just take turns. Like if I think, anything less than 3, so 2 at a time can come up without it being a quorum, and we'd be happy to step out of our meetings and just give you a tour.
How do you access? Where do you go up? Do you go up where there's a gate across from Hideout? Or
Yes. Yep. We'll let you in. We'll just have that gate open for you. And if you drive, Todd or I can meet you down at the bottom. Or if you drive all the way up to the estate, you just park right in front of the estate and come on in, and that's where we'll be.
Yeah, I'd like to get up there and take a look.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, the reason why I think it's worthwhile is because you'll get to see, number one, how pretty the property is, but you'll also start to catch the vision of where all these pieces lay out, and it'll just come to life. The restaurants will make sense, like where we're locating the restaurants and why we think they can be successful, and where the pool is going to go, the clubhouse, the pickleball courts, the pond, how the trails go through the property. It'll all start to make sense for you. So it just doesn't look like, blocks on a page.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this going to be, according to your vision, would this be something that would have initiation fees? You have to live in Hideout, you know what I mean? You have to, how expensive do you see this being, as far as like, if I wanted to go to go work out in this facility, is this going to be something that, I'm going to have to pay, thousands of dollars a year to be a member?
No, that's part of, maybe we haven't done a really good job articulating it. Right now, the plan is, like, typically if you join a place like Tuhei, you're paying for either a golf membership or a social membership, or both, right? When you buy your lot, they require that you buy a social membership. Usually those are around, I don't know, $25,000 to $75,000 for your social membership. And then maybe Scott can chime in, but, and then, you're $100,000 plus for the golf membership. So, and really what you're doing is you're paying for the amenities that you're enjoying. And then you have HOA dues that help maintain it over time. So we are going to build the facilities. And as of right now, we have no plans to charge any social membership, right? Like, this is just open to the public. And then the one thing that we do need to discuss is maintenance of it. And so, we can certainly charge all of the people within our development an HOA fee, but I couldn't charge somebody outside of our community an HOA dues. You know what I mean? They're just not, but we may need to have some nominal membership fee that allows them to, allows maintenance of the property, just ongoing maintenance of everything. But it's not going to be anywhere close to what is being paid at, you know, a tuahe or a promontory or something like that.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Tony, is this just a discussion piece, or do we,
It's just a
No, this
discussion.
is only one for discussion.
okay.
You know, I had another thought, traffic. That's right on that curve. How do you envision
Much
pulling
like,
out?
it's a great, no, you're right, Donna. It's a great question. I think much like what where we're really gonna find out is when we get in with UDOT and start having detailed conversations with UDOT. My guess is we're probably gonna have acceleration and deceleration lanes coming in and out of the project. Just my guess.
Okay.
Does that second entrance or first entrance, if you're coming from Camas, is that there already?
It's rough. It's like a dirt road that's cut in, but
okay.
it's hard to, there's a gate that's right there and it's locked. And so you can't really get up through that section.
Is that across from the Tuhay entrance?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Directly across?
It's pretty close. Yeah. I mean, I haven't measured it, but it's pretty dang close.
Since we're talking about traffic and roads, I know that there's an easement across the property to provide secondary access for Golden Eagle. Can you just state where that is or how that will intertwine with what you have?
You know, that's one thing that we got the document today that describing that. And so we have a legal description. We're going to look at that document. And if we need to connect through Golden Eagle, we'll have that reflected in the next time we meet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anyone, any of the commissioners, or issues you want us to continue to coordinate with, or anything as we work with Todd and McKay?
Do we need to talk about, I don't really understand what the, what is it called? SID or
PID?
PID.
The infrastructure area, what does that all entail? Is that something the town undertakes, or is that something that the developer is doing, or is it a combination? I don't understand that.
Todd, if Todd's still on, Todd can give a good description of how the PID works. Did I lose you, Todd?
No, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So a PID is known as a public infrastructure district or a public improvement district. All it is a methodology of financing improvements. This project, along with all the improvements that we're trying to do, it is a very expensive project with a ton of improvements that need to go in, not only from water, but just general infrastructure. In order to finance those, there's multiple ways to do that. One of those ways is through a public infrastructure district. And so that public infrastructure district is merely just a financing method. Now, what that does is that will increase the mill levy associated with the property tax payments on that project. So it's just within the boundaries of our project. Those people will have a higher mill, in this case, you know, maybe 8 or 10 mills. And those 8 or 10 mills will then pay against their property taxes going forward until those bonds are paid back. So it's a bonding mechanism paid back through property tax assessments. So it doesn't impact the town. It doesn't impact any other residents. It literally only impacts the people in here, and the houses will be sold with that disclosure so that they understand their property taxes are a little bit higher to account for that.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you. And then the follow-up that comes to mind is just as I think Jonathan Gunn was talking about earlier, is water. Do you have water rights? Can you get water rights? Have you explored that yet, or is it too early in the process?
No, it's a great question, and we're working through that right now. Yes, we can get them. We have not acquired them yet. Obviously, we've got to get through the entitlement process to understand exactly how many of acre feet of water that we need. But yes, they are available. We can acquire them, and we anticipate doing that, upon our approval from the town.
Okay.
Anything else from the commissioners?
I have a question. Have you looked at the response times for EMS and fire? My understanding of the placement of the current EMS and fire units would probably lead me to think that there's probably going to be a very long response time. Have you looked at that? And if so, what do you think the response times are going to be?
We haven't looked at it in detail yet, but that's always something that we go through when we do master plan communities. We assume the response time is going to be exactly similar to what it is across the street. But we measured that, we get together with fire, station and fire company and police, and we talk to them about proximity to the closest stations. And but it's an important question, and one that we'll get into as we get down the road with this process.
Okay, I understand it's a little early, but it seems to me like even where I am in Deer Waters, I'm looking at about a 15-minute response time, and I'm starting to wonder with all this growth, how is all this going to get covered? One ambulance, one fire company can only cover realistically so many structures and so much distance, and I'm starting to wonder. That's got to be getting pretty stretched already, let alone with the additional projects. So I'm kind of wondering about that.
It's a good question. It's something that we always, obviously we want to make sure that everybody's safe. And so those are, especially from a fire standpoint. So.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Currently, wouldn't our fire trucks come from over by Mayflower?
Yep.
That's a long ways away.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes from that station to the northern end of Deer Waters, if you will, the northeastern end of Deer Waters. So it's going to be a whole lot longer. And in any kind of serious medical emergency, I don't know much about fires. I know a little bit about medical emergencies. That's a problem.
I think what's going to help is the road over at Deer Springs is going to cut off. You don't have to go to the light. You'll be able to go through Deer Springs. So that's going to help.
This is Scott Davis. If the council would like, one of our Tuahey members, it was a commander for the New York Fire Department, and he said that he would be more than graciously come over, talk to you about his expertise, and basically answer any questions you would have and be an advocate for it, because he himself, who lives in Hideout right now and is building a Tuahey, is concerned about this issue. And he said he would answer any question we had. I mean, he's obviously not a commander anymore, but now he goes around the United States and advises different communities and different fire departments around the United States. And he said he would be happy to make himself available. Just a side note.
Because this has two parts. One is response time. The other one is personnel and equipment coverage. If one ambulance is going to cover, for example, 1,000 square miles, all you have to do is get timed out to one call. Everybody else is out of luck because the backup is going to be a half hour, 45 minutes away.
I know fires. I know that in every municipality that we work with, the fire station has their own program that they have in place, and when they feel like they're in a position where they need to expand, they're actively looking for new locations for stations and stay out in front. So as we go through and we get our assuming that we get a project approved and we go forward, I mean, that's one of the things is we get in the actual platting process, and we're talking about all that stuff. We get into that level of detail with the fire and with the fire companies and police station they have plans independent of ours. They're like school districts. They're constantly going out in front of the path of growth and finding new locations and anticipating where things are going to go. So
fair enough. My own EMS background tells me that things are already stretched kind of thin. So I, for one, would love to hear about plans that would cover that going forward.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that's not something that developers, it's not the responsibility of the developers of the township. Typically, it's that the fire station has there, and in the same way that a school district operates. But we're happy to work with them and cooperate with them and do whatever it is that we need to do. But it's just something that is out of our
Sure.
out of our control.
They just need the footprint to house the staff, the equipment, and the vehicles. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with those other districts, you have to assume that they're with the additional taxes or, funds that they're getting from the additional properties, that they then are able to ramp up their services. So it's not, for EMS type stuff, that is, fire district, I don't think that legally you could deny something because of their district.
Oh, I'm not suggesting denial. I'm really suggesting that be part of the plan.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, we pay, I mean, if anything else, a development, that has more density is going to pay more impact fees, and by extension, pay more to the fire company, right? There's a fire impact fee that we actually pay as a part of the impact fees for every single unit that gets developed. So financially, we'd help.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Mac, it's Ralph Severini. I've been listening as often I have on your presentations. I was just wondering, maybe I missed this. Have you put together any projections on the expected non-property tax revenue coming from the hotel and the restaurant?
Yeah, I sent over to Jan and to Thomas the property tax revenue. We got the other day. We're still working on the transit and the retail. The retail component is a little bit hard to wrap our minds around right now, just because it'll be trying to calculate what we anticipate the gross revenue will be is a little bit of a challenge. But we hope to have something by next week on the transient and retail commercial tax.
Thanks. That would be helpful.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Real quick, where around the pond and the amphitheater, let me see, where's that amphitheater? There it is. Will there be parking?
Yes, that's something that you're right. We do need to, right now we've got parking that's kind of spread throughout, but you're right. Parking is something that we're going to have to count. As we get into more detail on this, we'll evolve the parking plan, but we'll make sure that we have enough parking to support all the uses that we have.
Okay.
If just last thing by way of information, if there's any planning commissioners that do want to come up, I suppose you could probably coordinate with Jan. She has my phone number. Please, or Thomas does. Please feel free to either text us, or like I said, we'll be there from about 10:30 to 3. We can be there earlier. Todd and I can be there at 9 o'clock, 8:30, whenever it is that you need us to be up there. If you're planning on it, just reach out to Jan and she can reach out to us.
And just kind of echoing what Polly said, maybe reach out to Jan and kind of schedule time so that you all don't up there at the same time. If you don't have time to make it up tomorrow, also don't hesitate to shoot Jan and or me an email and we'll a notice meeting where we could all go up there if you thought that was helpful too. Does that work for you, McKay?
Yeah, absolutely. We will accommodate you in whatever, like, honestly, this is the most important thing for us. If there's a time that works for you, we'll make sure that we're there.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any other questions from the commission members or from the public who's listening? Okay, that being said, Thomas, do we want to put this over to next month, or are we going to wait to hear from?
We'll plan to
Mark
continue.
McKay?
We'll plan to continue the concept plan to next month. Then you'll also, they submitted for a rezoning that would follow. So that will be on the agenda for next month as well.
Thomas, Tony, we'll get together with Thomas and with Jan and work with staff to continue to go through our plan and have something in preparation for next meeting.
Okay, thank you. McKay, I'd like to get up there. I'm just going to be away next week. So the week after that, but I need a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday to get up, Monday or Tuesday to get up there.
Any one of those days will work. You just let me know and I'll be there.
All right. I have your number. I'll get in touch with you after I get back.
Sounds perfect. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, can I have a motion? Does somebody want to make a motion to put this over till next month meeting?
Do we need a motion?
I'm not sure, but I'm just covering my butt.
Motion. Well, I mean, it would just be on the agenda again, so it doesn't really matter either
Okay.
way. We don't need to.
Then in that case, does anyone like to make a motion to adjourn this month's meeting?
Okay, I'll move that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Glennis. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Glennis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Okay, thank you all. Jonathan.
Thank you, guys.
Hopefully didn't bore you too much.
Thank you.
Thanks, McKay and Todd.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
McKay,
you
I'm
guys'
hoping
time.
to get up there about 11 o'clock tomorrow, so I hope to see you
Perfect. We'll be-
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see you there, Bruce. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Your
great.
presentation.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, you guys. Thank
Night.
you.
Okay.